Meet the Kenyan doctors, men and women who work tirelessly not only to heal the sick, but also to set the national agenda in the health sector.
The doctor occupies a position that no other professional occupies. We, as doctors, are the ones that are closest to human suffering and human hope.
It all boils down to the patient. It's the public, it's the people we engage with. It's all to make sure that at the end of the day, we can serve the public better. We can ensure that there's quality healthcare out there.
These doctors have banded together to form the Kenya Medical Association, KMA, a professional body that promotes the practice of medicine in Kenya. KMA's mandate is to uphold high standards of medical ethics and conduct, advise the government, other medical bodies, and the general public on matters related to health, promote the welfare of doctors, maintain the honor and interest of the medical profession, support continuing professional development, and liaise with peer medical associations around the world.
Getting a degree doesn't make you a professional. Getting a degree gives you a medical qualification, an academic qualification. It is by being an active member of your professional association that makes you a professional.
So the people you associate with, your peers who recognize you, those are the ones who give you the way to professionalism.
Just that networking, professional development, and the social interaction as a doctor, because we work a lot, many hours spent with patients, so the only time is when you associate with other professionals and other people.
The year 2018 marks the golden jubilee of the Kenya Medical Association.
KMA was founded in 1968, and that's why it's turning 50 this year.
But KMA is actually older than that, because prior to registering Kenya Medical Association, it was a branch of the British Medical Association. So all our seniors used to be members of the British Medical Association Kenya branch.
The 27th of November 1968 marked the birth of the Kenya Medical Association, when it attained complete independence from the British Medical Association. Professor J.M. Mungai was elected as the first president of KMA. Dr. S.S. Dillon started his practice in 1954. He'd go on to become the chairman of KMA and mayor of Mombasa.
Before the KMA, I had joined the British Medical Association. It was nothing very special. It was quite normal, and we also changed our name from British Medical Association to Kenya Medical Association.
Dr. Joseph Aluoch qualified as a medical doctor in the 1960s and recalls his early days in the association.
I did not know much about KMA. I heard about it, but it looked like an elite club of a few old doctors, mainly Asians, actually 99% Asians, used for dining and kind of chatting. On 5th November 1971 at 5 p.m. on a Friday, I was picked up from the new, we call them those days, new doctors' flats. They had just been built, and we were the first lot of doctors to occupy them. So at 5 p.m., a group of CAD police officers came to pick us. Why? Because a strike of doctors had been declared for the first time in post-independent Kenya. Unfortunately, most of the ring leaders had disappeared, so the police could not get them. So they are avenging They're throwing the revenge on innocent doctors who are just doing their normal work. Myself and the late Dr. Mbaka and Dr. Gilbert Okelo, who is next door in this hospital, were taken to Karen police station and huddled in. While we were in the cell over the weekend, the KMA, that time the chairman was the late Dr. Nesbitt, so he consulted the then KMA lawyer, he was Dr. Harry Makecha, so what to do with the doctors, because they were concerned. We are not members of KMA, but they thought we were doctors, colleagues, they could help us. So as we brought to court on Monday morning, that is the 8th of November, Harry Makecha was there to bail us out, and we actually released unconditionally. And after that, we are very appreciative of KMA, and some of us joined KMA.
My involvement with KMA actually predates my qualification. When we were medical students, Kamarogo, myself, Nyikao, and other people formed an organization called AMSUN, the Association of Medical Students of the University of Nairobi.
The interest in joining KMA came as we were groups of medical students who believed that if doctors got organized in certain ways, they would achieve a great deal for themselves and for the society. We started getting engaged with the organization as medical students from '75.
We were very, very conscious of the problems facing this sector, and we knew our rights. But most important, there was a group of us who were unwilling to sacrifice those rights on the altar of personal comfort.
I remember particularly in 1979, 78, 79, when there was an issue of shortage of doctors and there was a bit of agitation. We were part of it, of course. The then President Moi said that if doctors don't work, he'll go and get doctors in India. He can't even employ monkeys. We realized that there was need for us to coordinate ourselves really in regard to our welfare as doctors, regarding the conditions of work and terms of service that we were in. And we looked around, there were quite a number of us, and we looked around and we realized that the only organization that we could actually join was Kenya Medical Association. Many doctors in government employment were really not members of Kenya Medical Association. And these are the doctors who actually had a lot of welfare issues. So we felt that it was necessary that we get in and see how this organization can help us. Let me say that at the beginning, we felt that this thing is not helpful. This KMA is a private doctors thing, and we even called it a Tea Party organization. But some of the older members told us that if you wanted to change, join it and change it. So we said, we'll take up the challenge. And then we actually mobilized ourselves. And I remember between 77 and 78, very many new branches were actually formed.
The first 10 years of KMA had black doctors in the minority. This was reflected in the leadership. With the qualification of more indigenous doctors, a change was imminent.
At that time, the tradition was the assistant secretary becomes secretary, a secretary becomes associate chair, and then chair in succession. So the elections were very short. You would go there, these guys just move up, and 5-10 minutes later, the election is complete. But we had enough numbers of Africans at that time. So we planned a coup. And we said we are going to take over. This meeting was taking place in Kisumu. And in Kisumu, as usual, people assembled to start our usual so-and-so now, who was Secretary General, becomes Associate Chair. And so-and-so Associate Chair now becomes, no, we also want to contest. So we raised our hands. Yeah, I wasn't one of those. I was very young. So there was a war between the Asian group and the African group. Yeah, and for some reason or the other, and I don't even know why, but my name got mentioned at that time, and I was friendly to both sides. So it was like, how about Dr. Abdallah becoming the Secretary General? And both groups went, yeah. And I stood up to protest, and I was told, shut up. So I shut up.
The first big challenge that happened to KMA was sometimes in the 80s, actually 1981, when a national strike was called, and the likes of Nikal, who's now a member of parliament, the likes of Rai, those were the guys who were in the forefront at that point. And this was the first phase where KMA actively was involved in leading what I could call an industrial strike or an industrial action to agitate for better terms of service.
During the negotiations, the strike, it came out that there was no scheme of service for doctors. Nothing. When the Director of Medical Service then was challenged in one of the meetings, bring the scheme of service. That was the last meeting we had, and none was produced. And so after that, we actually then sat down, and a new PSKM, I think it was called Jeremiah Crane or somebody, who said, okay, gentlemen, let's sit down. And we actually worked the scheme of service for doctors.
KMA's role focused not only on doctors' welfare and remuneration, but spread also to the national health agenda and informed government policy and legislation.
Near Parliament building, there's the Professional Society building. And then in the basement below was where KMA was. There was an elderly lady, a Mzungu lady called Mrs. Green. And she was sitting there alone with her East African Medical Journal. She was correcting things. So I went there and I said, good morning, Mrs. Green. Yes. She says, my name is Dr. Abdallah. Yes. I'm the new Secretary General. Yes. I said, look, I've come. I'm the doctor. I said, look, no doctor has ever come here. So go away. You are disturbing me. She was busy with her East African Medical Journal. I says, woo. I don't know what the meaning of this is. Inside myself, I said, no, this has to change. So I worked very hard. I called my colleagues as well, Professor Juang and the others who are my age mates. You guys, come on. Now that we've taken over KMA, is that what this is going to be? We play cricket and then we appoint each other and then we do it again next year? No, we have to give back to society. So let us begin to write proposal. Let us go. So I went to Afia House. Dr. Koenange at that time, the Director of Medical Service, how can we work with you? How can we work together? So we started plotting and planning and so on. And we were invited as KMA for the first time to join the effort of the government on a number of things. For example, the workmen's compensation was actually done by us. The paper to do with reproductive health in Kenya. At that time, family planning was a no-go zone for the government of Kenya. But we went into it and we assisted. In fact, the paper on reproductive health for the parliament was written by us as Kenya Medical Association.
It was decided that KMA must now take up seriously the issue of the welfare of doctors. And in the meeting, in one meeting in Mombasa, we formed committees. These committees, particularly the housing committee, became very active. The welfare committee became very active. The family planning committee actually was very helpful in sorting funds.
So suddenly KMA became so busy. And this dungeon in the basement of professionals no longer became tenable. We had to do something else. We were lucky. We had a guy on our side because we had now agreed Asians and Africans are going to join hands. A guy called Yusuf Haraj. Bold character he was. Yeah? Quiet but mischievous in his own ways. He could enter any door in this republic. So he says, let's go and tell the government we are doing a good thing. They know it. We wrote compensation for them. We wrote World Bank papers for them. Why can't they look back and give us something? He says, yeah, sounds like a good idea. So we went to office of the president and we said, we are here, we are your servants, we are doing a good thing, don't you think? We scratch your back, you scratch our back. So we were told, okay, you go, we'll let you know. For about 2 years, we didn't hear from them. And then suddenly one day, we were told, come. You are wanted in State House, 7:30 in the morning. We had no idea why we were wanted in State. We had forgotten about the application. We actually had an emergency KMA meeting that evening in the dungeon. One of us did something wrong, because those days when you are called, you disappear, you don't come back. You know? So we said, something is wrong. If any one of us has done something, please own up. Don't put into trouble the rest of us. And we searched ourselves. Okay, let's go. So in the morning we woke up, we told our wives, you know, in case I don't come back, look after the children. And we went. And then it was like, you remember, you guys, you said you wanted help from the government? Yeah. We like you, you're doing a good thing. What we don't like is LSK. These lawyers, troublesome. But you guys, you're doing a good job. So we've agreed we will give you. So they gave us the current plot where the Kenya Medical Association is. A 4-acre plot with 2 houses on it.
The 80s and 90s were characterized by tribal clashes and a reduction of the democratic space in the country. KMA, through its Human Rights Committee, stepped up to the plate.
We started the KMA Human Rights Committee in the early 90s when there is especially in the Bungoma and Mount Elgon region, and there's a lot of torture of people because of the clashes. Then we started Independent Medical Legal Unit, which is a network of doctors and lawyers who are doing pro bono work, treating free of charge torture victims, and also the lawyers giving pro bono. So we came out and giving lectures to doctors and teaching them how to document medical legal issues and also taking up cases. And I'm very happy that that humble thing we started, and in 1996, I think, the special rapporteur on torture came to Kenya, and we were the first group he met, one of the groups he met. And you know, I feel happy because in that report, there's a small portion of KMA, you know, the Kenya Medical Association has a Human Rights Committee, and the Kenya Medical Association tells their doctors to document properly any torture cases, and that the Kenya Medical Association will take action on any doctor who falsifies any report. Our documentations, in fact, especially of the post-election violence, was used by the special rapporteur of extrajudicial killing. In fact, through IMLU, majority of whom are doctors anyway, pro bono, who are working there, and we did do the report, and it is appreciated. And IMLU and KMA, when it comes to the documentation of human rights, is well known.
Other committees in KMA include the mid-90s saw a drastic change in the leadership vision of KMA.
Probably one of the most memorable and tumultuous elections of KMA in 1996 in Kisumu. When my name was proposed, I campaigned and I became the new president of Kenya Medical Association. At that point, then we decided that our taking over was not just going to be symbolic, but we were actually going to do things differently. And that became, I believe, a major turning point for this association. First thing is that we started identifying, number one, key social programs that would respond to the felt needs of members of KMA, young or old. So, number one, we remembered when we first came to Nairobi as young doctors doing postgraduates that we had to fight for nearly 1 year just to get housing. That is where the housing cooperative comes in.
To date, the housing cooperative has done us very proud because, as you are aware, we have actually developed estates starting from the first one in South Sea, which is called KMA Estate. Subsequently, there was one in Otiende, KMA Otiende, and then we've had one in, on Riera Road, next, just near the junction shopping mall. And the last one now that is going on is one in Mtwapa, which is a high-end facility. The model of KMA housing is that you subscribe as a member because it's a SACCO. And when there's a project, then they look for project financing at discounted rates, very good interest rates. And so you can either get a loan, or if you have the money, you pay it upfront and you get your property.
We felt that one of the biggest problems that doctors have is that they are uneducated in business. And I came across this when I went to my bank one day. And at that time, with that kind of salary, you don't see the bank manager. It's interesting that when I went to my KCB bank, the branch manager said he wanted to see me, and I was told by the teller that the bank manager had said that next time you come. So I said, why would you want to see me? Because he says that you are active in KMA. So I thought that he was going to calling me because my bank was in the red, because it was always in the red anyway. But it was a surprise that he told me that, you know, I wanted to see you to see if we can help you and your association. If you don't mind, I would like to have a chance to talk to your members about making money work for you instead of you working for money. Because I think that you people work too hard for the money, but the money doesn't work for you. That became an interesting thing. It happened during one of the branch meetings where I had gone for the branch meeting, and I think it was a dinner. And during that dinner, and that's dinner where doctors come with their spouses and sometimes even their children. So I was asked to make comments as a president of the organization that say that we want to move things in this area. And I broached this idea that we would like, and we are working with private institutions to help doctors go on holiday. You know what the reaction was? All the spouses of doctors stood up and said, yes, that I've never been taken for a holiday. This guy just works January to December and so on. And the only time that he takes me out is this annual dinner of medical association. So, Mr. President, you're right. You're saying that the tour agencies were telling us that it is possible for doctors to get rebates, packages that are just for doctors. You and your family go to Malindi, Lamu for 1 week at hardly anything, and that if their group wants, it can be done. Then we started learning that even for health, for car insurance and life insurance, we could go as a group and get better rebates, because assume that the doctor has his blood pressure checked regularly, so he should live longer. I don't know if that's true, but we pushed that idea. So all of a sudden, there were economic opportunities appearing where, as doctors, as professionals, we could use our professional standing to our economic advantage.
But in that period, something also happened in terms of welfare. We felt that as doctors, most of us who are employed in government were actually in Afya SACCO. But because of our numbers, we were always the minority. So I think some of your colleagues, the younger people, just said, we must start our SACCO. And I particularly remember Dr. Kilozo and Dr. Rakwaro. And they just came to me and said, Chair, we are starting our SACCO. I said, fine, go ahead and start the SACCO. So then they actually started, mobilized, and the SACCO came into being. And now it is a 2 billion Kenya shillings operation. I was amazed. It can lend 10, 20 million to doctors. So now doctors have the SACCO and they have the housing. So people borrow from the SACCO and put in their housing. So that was also a major achievement in that period.
An energetic team of doctors ushered the new millennium in, ready to tackle the evolving health landscape.
One of the things that KMA HIV committee did was to partner with corporates and to make ARVs, antiretroviral drugs, available at very good prices. At that time, when a course for 1 month would even cost about 50,000 to 100,000 shillings, with partnering with corporate pharmaceuticals, they made this accessible, and the prices came down to less than 500 shillings. This was a great achievement. Of course, there was the issue of training, training doctors, training nurses, and training pharmacists.
I have a very strong feeling that is what actually brought me to government. Because after that, when we said it could be done, people could be treated, and we have put a system of treating. I was called by the head of the civil service then, with Dr. Muga, who was the director of medical services, and Mr. Godu, who was the PS. A month later, I was asked to be DMS.
The opportunities availed and doors opened by associating with KMA cannot be understated.
I decided to do pathology immediately after my internship, and I had to go and apply for scholarship from the ministry. And when I went, I was told, "You are crazy. I mean, if you just finish internship, you have to do 2 years." And I told them, "Why do I need to do 2 years of cesarean sections and other things when I want to become a pathologist?" So somebody refused at the provincial level then. I was told, if you want to be assisted, you better go to see the DMS. So I mean, for most junior doctors, or anybody for that matter, DMS office is such a big office. How do you? But because I had been with KMA for 2 years by then, I had interacted with Professor Richard Muga in very many circles, because as a DMS he was a member of KMA. Then he says, "But is there anything you have done? Because the reason why you have to work for 2 years is because you build a CV, you know what you have done." I had done a lot for East Africa Medical Journal, even published some articles, again, because of my interactions with people like Professor Lore. So I had all my dossier there, and I gave it to him. And as I was walking away, he told me he'll call me later, but as I was walking away, he called me back, and he says, "Go and pack your things and start. We'll find a way."
I think KMA has gone through a lot. KMA is alive, it's vibrant, it brings us together. It gives me a reason to associate and network with my colleagues.
I do not think there's any other place that a young doctor can sit with an old senior doctor and discuss things as equals other than in KMA. Because you know, in the hospital environment, it is very heavily regimented. We practice medicine almost like the military. So that if I am a senior doctor in a certain area, then people must respect me, people must give way whenever I say something, people must consider it seriously. But when we sit as colleagues in KMA, we sit almost as equals, because we can listen to everyone. Every idea is welcome. And it is those ideas from the young doctors that have helped to transform this association to the vibrant, outgoing, and visible association that it is today.
I mean, this is an institution that has exemplary skills, number one, in-house. It has potential to grow this. I mean, within the region, we are leading. We're the strongest within the region. So aside from offering leadership in terms of the regionally, we stand to push, one, our agenda. It's actually our agenda in ensuring quality of health is delivered to the citizenry of Kenya, in ensuring that all Kenyans have an access to a skilled health worker. Number two, can be able to afford these services that they require anytime, rather timely.
KMA Center in Upper Hill, Nairobi is a state-of-the-art business center comprising office spaces, restaurants and apartments. It is the pride of KMA.
The vision of KMA Center was to be a self-sustaining project to provide continuous funding for the association so that the association can concentrate on its core business of providing health to the country and being a doctors' welfare association.
So the KMA Center was part of the team that started it from simple paper. I remember working, we had meetings for very many hours, discussing the plans, discussing the approach, the strategy to use to recruit people to join the vehicle that was going to invest in it. And for us, the biggest achievement was actually putting up a 2 billion commercial structure in Upper Hill. And we had the President of the Republic of Kenya opening it. As a profession, doctors have been seen not to be entrepreneurial. So we took a big risk, and I think it just went to prove to the other associations that it's possible, that professionals can and should be involved in entrepreneurship and building this economy.
With the eyes of the world focused on access to universal healthcare, KMA is fully engaged in advocacy and policy development, laying the groundwork for the future of healthcare.
It's not doctors alone that can change the health system. It's impossible globally. It's not the nurses. Neither is it the pharmaceutical companies or the insurance companies. Healthcare is like an orchestra where you have everyone playing the instrument at the same time to produce music. Doctors are one piece of the health system. Professionals are one piece of the health system. And then there is the industry, there is the pharmaceutical sector, and there is the healthcare financing sector. All those subsectors put together produce the health sector in totality.
The entry of executive CEOs also starting to professionalize the activities of KMA. Without those changes, KMA would not be where it is.
Picking another SDG on gender equality, KMA is very particular about that. We've had the first president of Kenya Medical Association, the chairperson, been a woman. That tells you a lot. We've had the first CEO being a woman, the second person, telling you that there is room for us to also push towards their third rule as per the laws of this country.
In 61, 62, when I was in Mombasa, okay, I was with local authorities, but then other doctor says, oh, we are members of KMA, and so I joined KMA. But as a female doctor, when you go there were either you are alone or there may be one or two ladies, and when you talk to your male counterparts, they would just say hello, hello, and there won't be any further talk, and you feel isolated. So one would avoid sort of going too much to those meetings, you see. There is a big change to the extent that this year even your conference is dominated by female doctors in organization.
I'm really happy to see a lot more younger doctors who are not only becoming members but also taking up leadership positions within KMA, because I think that to me symbolizes that KMA has many more years ahead of us, that KMA will outlast us.
As a young doctor, being a member of KMA, I've benefited quite a lot. Number one, it builds your professional capacity. You're able to interact with a lot of senior doctors who, number one, they mentor you. Number one, they grow your leadership skills. Usually, if I was not a member of KMA, currently where I serve, I am not a leader in my position at work, but where I serve as KMA, I have gained the leadership skills. I'm actually able to run an office, having been in the KMA Nairobi division.
Today, KMA carries out its activities in 17 divisions across the country and is engaged in advocacy and governance with county governments, nationally and internationally.
Now we are interacting even wider, and I think this More so in the last 2-3 years, we have engaged more within the Africa region. KMA championing for the formation of a Federation of East African Medical Associations. The greatest link having been, I think, with Uganda. We attend each other's conferences and we have football teams that play very serious games, and you know, there's always who's going to win this game. So that's the Matthew Lukwia Cup. And further than that, we've gone onto the world, the global front. So KMA is now on the, interacting greatly in the World Medical Association, again interacting with members from all over the world who are members within the association. And again, the common thread is that as medical associations, as physicians, our challenges are so similar. So when we listen to each other, interact with each other, we can build each other up.
Over the last 50 years, the Kenya Medical Association has played a crucial role in the transformation of the health sector, emerging as a leader in engaging medical practitioners and the voice for provision of the highest standards of healthcare in Kenya and beyond.